Thank you so much for joining. My name is Rachel Onoja, as shared earlier. I have spent the better part of years now supporting businesses. Hello?
I think your mic, we can't hear you.
No, so power went out, so I had to quickly switch from Wi-Fi to mobile data. Please confirm that you can hear me.
Loud and clear, yes.
Okay, apologies everyone for that quick glitch or network break. For the better part of 10 years, I've been supporting businesses to figure out how to navigate innovating within the talent space. And I think it has been one of the most empowering and most awesome experience for me personally. Some of the things I've learned over the course of the years, some of the ways I have been able to support people, some of the ways I've been able to support businesses. Um, Today, so interestingly, I've wanted to host this session for over a year now, but somehow I kept putting it off, not necessarily putting it off. I just felt like, okay, I wanted to do this right? I didn't want to do it anyhow. And for people who don't know what Balance Unleashed is, just a quick background. I'm going to share more later, but I started Balance Unleashed last year just as a way of building the kind of community I didn't have, right? Like I said, I've been navigating the talent space for about a decade, and I got to a point where I got burnt out, and I didn't necessarily have the community to help me figure out how to get out of the yucky stage, basically, that I was or that I was operating in. And so, started Balance Unleashed, hosted about 3 different events last year. One was on one was on managing your mental health while also navigating work, right? Finding ways to balance both. Partnered with Unguvu Health, which is a mental health organization, to host that session. And then the second one was around uncertainties, right? Navigating uncertainties when you really have a lot to do, or navigating uncertainties while you are even going through what you're going through at that time, right? Working on some projects, but then a lot of uncertainties are popping up. How do you ensure that you are not falling behind? How do you ensure that you're still showing up? And then even things as much as uncertainties build some skills such as resilience within us, right? So how to get all of those skills to work for you in times like that. Then the last one was sometime in November, which was more faith-based, which was identity in Christ equals rest. Now, I realized that quite a number of us are always going out, striving, striving to get to this point of I have everything I need, and then we forget that we literally need to rest, right? Yes, there's rest on the Sabbath day, but then there's a kind of rest that comes from just walking in your identity in Christ. And that event was mainly focused on that. It was a tough one for me, but it was also an amazing one. But I'll share about that later. So today we're doing Design Your Life for Optimum Results. Now, one thing I've been able to do over the past couple of years is I've set a lot of goals, a lot, right? And then there are times that at the end of the year, I'll be like, why did you even set this goal? I've also planned a lot to ensure that, oh, I am able to say at the end of the year, I achieved this. And there were times I had like a lot of goals fail. I'm not even going to lie to you. Even last year, there were some goals that I set that were just, I was doing some review maybe like a month ago, and I was like, this is just ridiculous. You really shouldn't have, okay, yes, you set this goal, granted, but what things did you put in place to help you achieve this? So it was that I had a lot of goals and then I had systems for all of them. But then this particular goal, it was like I was just looking at it and hoping that it will come to pass without me doing anything different, right? And well, it fell flat on its face. And that's why I'm like, okay, there are people who are similar to myself who still do that. And while I have used systems to help me achieve a lot of the things I wanted to achieve in life, um, are there people who understand how to set systems or put systems up the right way to work for them? I'm not so sure. So hopefully you find some value in this conversation. Um, there within the form that people filled, we also ask that people share what their expectations are. Um, if this session could be designed for them, how would they want us to design it the best way possible for them? So I have put together a very short presentation and then we will go into this question. So my team and I, what we did was to categorize these questions across multiple categories, right? Some parts of this presentation attends to the questions while some parts of it doesn't, right? Or quite a number of it doesn't. So which is why we're given some time so we can answer these questions and provide ways to navigate that terrain, whatever it is for you. Um, Also, I would like to appreciate everyone who responded to my first newsletter. I know I responded to quite a number of people who reached back. So thank you so much for reaching out. It was great getting to know you ahead of this session. So now that I have said quite a lot, let's get into it. One thing that a lot of people don't understand is the reason why our goals fail. Sometimes you might even have systems in place for them, but they fail because they are not purpose driven, right? And what do I mean by purpose driven, right? For some people, you have plans that you're like, okay, I'm going to, let me use an example. You have plans that at the end of this year, this is 2025, uh, you want to buy a car. Now, when someone asks you, why do you want a car? You're like, I just want a car, right? Like literally yesterday, a friend of mine and I were having a conversation and we're talking about some of the things we wanted within this year. And she was like, oh, last year she wanted to change roles, right? And she was able to achieve that. And then this year she wants, I'm not going to share because it's personal, but she wants something. And then next year she wanted a car, right? And I was like, okay, why don't you want a car this year? And then because she currently has a car, she was like, oh, she wanted to change her car by next year. I was like, why don't you want to change your car this year? Because I feel if you're able to achieve changing roles last year because you have set systems in place that got you to that point, then this year you should be able to get what that first thing you wanted and also be able to get the car. And she was like, honestly, she can't, it's almost like she can't defend the purpose of having the car this year, but she can clearly state why that other thing that she wants is important to her this year. And I was like, I get you. Now, is there a way to, you still have, I think yesterday was 1st of February. So you still have another 11 months, or maybe another 2 to 3 months, right? To think about this whole car thing. Can you find a way to bring it back into this year? Because how, and then later, immediately I had to catch myself like, okay, Rachel, people think differently from you. In my head, if I'm able to achieve one thing in 2024, in 2025, I should be doubling that. In 2026, I should be going 3x, right? That is if I'm moving on maybe like a what do they call it? Arithmetic progression of +1, right? But if I'm going in maybe like quantum leaps, then I should be doing more, right? So later I had to catch myself that, okay, the reason why I am able to do those things is because, yes, maybe I like to push myself, maybe, but there's also the part of maybe I am able to put a purpose or fine tune a purpose that is not rooted in self, because a lot of times, whatever reason we want something is rooted in self. Oh, I want people to know that I don't land. I have the best thing out there, right? Meanwhile, sometimes it's that you own a car, for example, because there are, or you want a car because you need it to improve something in the quality of your life or improve something in the quality of the lives of people around you. Now you put some form of purpose around it, right? So in this masterclass, we'll be diving deep into like practical strategies and mindset shifts that will empower you to design your life intentionally, like creating systems that support your goals and bring you closer to the fulfilling life you deserve. The truth is, we all deserve fulfilling life. I believe that fulfillment is not a what's the word? Is not a privilege. Yeah. I don't think fulfillment is a privilege. I think fulfillment is a right, and every single person has a right to access it, right? But then you don't just find fulfillment, right? I mean, some people do, if maybe you had maybe like almost like some systems that have already been set up for you, right? Maybe through family and all that. But even at that, you could have fulfillment in some areas of your life, but do you have fulfillment all around, right? So before we start building systems, it's important to understand the why behind them, right? And I want to give you first tip about how I approach the way I do things. I think of myself as a business, right? Now, a lot of us, or you either you own a business or you work for one, right? Someone is the business owner and you work for that person. And for each business has, yeah, businesses have purpose, right? Someone doesn't just start business because they feel like doing it, right? Because let's be real, business driving growth and success in a business is hard. So I believe that no one would just wake up one day and decide that, you know what, today I want to make my life hard. So think of yourself as a business. Everybody tells you that, oh, life is not easy. Oh, this, that, marriage is not easy. Oh, building a career takes a lot of work and all of that. So why not take all of this and put a purpose behind it? See yourself as a business, right? Thereby, whereby you have a purpose, and purpose is a guiding light that directs your path towards fulfillment and success. It is the foundation upon which all your goals and systems are built, right? I believe that a lot of people will tell you that you can just people will tell you that, okay, what is purpose? Purpose will be like, oh, it's the fine line that connects your passion to how you deliver impact to the world, right? A good definition. But then not everyone knows what they're passionate about. And you may be in the room and maybe you don't know what you're passionate about. Or maybe you know, but you have lost the motivation. But then let me ask you a question. Are you unmotivated or are you uninspired? Because there are times that we feel we are not motivated. I don't have strength to do my passion. I don't have this. I don't have that. I'm not able to push and get this done. But then maybe it's inspiration you are lacking. But then when you think of yourself as a business that needs to deliver results, a business that needs to every year needs to grow. And growth means you are moving from point one to point three to point nine. If you think of it that way, then that inspiration comes back. Now, there's a part of quite a number of us who are just passionate because of, or we are inspired because of trying to break out of the trenches. That is a way of being passionate, right? Or that's a way of being inspired. But then the thing is, wanting to break out of poverty can only take you far. So the question is, what impact are you looking to make in the world? How do the things you do connect to the world at large? Now, one thing I want you to do on your notes or whatever is, I don't know if you know the SDG goals. There's about 17 of them. How many of those SDG goals resonate the best with you? In fact, let me see. Let's bring it up here. SDG goals, right? SDG goals list. We have about, yeah, 17 of them. Not showing well. Yeah, I'm just gonna go back. All right. No. How many of these SDG goals resonate with you the most, right? I'm asking because if your SDG or if your purpose in some ways is tied in self, then I promise you, whatever goal you set, whatever systems you put in place, but then you don't push for them to be connected to something greater than yourself, you are setting yourself up to fail. Not because you won't achieve those goals. I promise you, you will. That's the truth. But then, do you go to bed and you're like, okay, yes, I have all the money in my accounts. I have all of the amazing things I want. But then at the end of the day, how does that make you feel on the inside? Right? For me, the goals that connect the most for me are um, good health and well-being, industry innovation, and I think I can't remember the last part of it. Is it's industry innovation and infrastructure, right? Reduce inequality within and among countries, right? Decent work and economic growth, right? There's also end poverty, right? There's also gender equality. The truth is, you can have a lot of them connect with you. It's okay, right? Nobody's going to come and tell you that, oh, you just have to stick to a few of them. No, it's okay to have multiple of them connecting with you. And then I think the other one is quality education, which is what my work is built on. But then the thing is, because I am striving for quality education, I am creating opportunities for people to walk away from hunger, right? By ensuring that they have access to decent work, right? When they have access to decent work and then there's economic growth, then they're able to support their families, right? Then there's also the part of when you want to have some form of like, you want to enable people to, when you want to enable people to feed or support their families the most, there's this common saying, but I personally don't completely agree with it, which is, um, I agree with you with it, let's say 60-40, right? They say feed a girl and she will feed, and you feed a nation, right? Now, I agree with it. Every woman I have seen who you have supported in one way or another, she ensures that she sends money back home. But the truth is, we have men who are also striving, ensuring that whatever comes into their hands goes to their mother or their father's hands. So, which is why for me it's 60-40. Now, for some people, they'll be like, oh, yeah, that's not equality and all of that. But the truth is, that's a conversation for another day. It's the reality that I have found around myself, right? So those are ways that I connect my purpose to the work I do, right? So the question is, amongst all of this, write it down. It's okay if you don't have all of it right now, or you are not, you have to take time to think about it and all of that. It's fine. But please write down what impact you hope to make in the world and how does your work today connect to that? All of the goals that you've set. A lot of people have said that, oh, they are doing implementation. Now, the question is what you are implementing right now, what you are going to implement in the next 6 to 8 months, in the next 9-12 months, does it impact the world? I want you to have almost like a mind shift, right, in how you approach things this year. So, pardon me for pushing so hard on this, right? Now, I believe that people actually need to take time to develop a passion in case you don't have one. And research has shown that for most people, passion comes after they try something, discover that they like it, and they develop some form of mastery, right? Not before, right? So to put it more specifically, passion is a result of a good life design, not the cause, right? So is that okay? You tell yourself that amongst these goals, there are some that I'm interested in, but then I am not currently operating in them, but I want to try them out. So this year, maybe one of those things is climate change. You find a climate change community and you start volunteering with them and see the impact it's leaving. And then you see if this is something that you want to do full time or part time. Because again, what you're passionate about doesn't necessarily need to be what is paying you. Just something you should note, right? Now, so what truly drives you, right? Now, I want you to think of freedom as a concept for you. What does freedom mean to you? For some people, freedom means money. For some people, freedom means uh time. Call it like freedom, like they need to be able to do with their time whatever they want to, whenever they want to. For some people, freedom means um responsibility, right? I know that what's it called, Netflix, that we all love. One of their major core values, or their core values, they have about 4 to 5 of them. But then there's this two that a lot of them embody so much. It's almost like the guiding principle of how they operate at work. Uh, Freedom and responsibility, right? And for them is that for some people, freedom is we trust you to drive this the best way possible. We trust that if we leave Netflix for you for an entire month, it will not break. Nothing will break because you own this completely. But then because you have this freedom, that means you are responsible for this whole thing. It means that it cannot fall apart, right? Now the question is, when you have freedom, what do you want to be responsible for? Think of it as, what does freedom mean to me, and how can I connect responsibility to it? In my own case, I want to be free to go to space one day. But then, what am I responsible to do to make that happen? I'm responsible for ensuring that people have access to quality STEM education. And by the time they have quality STEM education, I mean, I could literally just decide that, you know what, I'll save money and go and give Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk and jump on their spaceship and go to Mars. I could do that. But then, do I want to just do it without being responsible for how I achieve that? It means that maybe Nigeria has a space program. Please don't laugh. I know they said they do. I don't know so much about it. But the question is, if I support in building an army of software engineers, an army of data engineers, data scientists, then in the next 10 to 15 or 20 years, I don't know how long it's going to take for this, our great nation, to finally have a spaceship that goes to Mars. I don't know. But it doesn't even have to be that I am on that spaceship. Is that I'm responsible for making that dream happen. Maybe not for myself, but for other people who have this aspiration to go to space. They may not have to go through space through going to Florida in the US, but they could do it by going to space from maybe Plateau, Jos. Maybe we have a space program in Plateau, Jos in the next 50 or 100 years. Remember, it's not about you. Freedom goes beyond you. Freedom goes to support other people's vision of it. Okay? Now let's talk about goals. I want to think about, I mean, the whole plan of this conversation is about systems, right? But if you don't set the right goals, then your system sort of like, you don't, how do I put it? Goals are, yeah, let me just use what's on this. Like, think of goals as direction for the period of time they are being set for, right? While think of goals as the what, and then systems as the how, right? Now, are there some goals that you've missed before? A lot of times, people look at goals as, I want to achieve this. Now, goals are almost like this far, something you have to reach for, right? But then systems allow you to do something every day or every 2 days or every week. to achieve that goal. The truth is, there are times that we have goals that are just delusional, right? And then we are hoping that they just happen. But the truth is, you can have systems without goals. If you have goals without system, you won't achieve your goals. Or you could, but it will take a long time and it will be a very strenuous process. But if you have systems without goals, you will still meet your goals. I don't know if that makes sense. Right. So, um, I remember one time that I had this very ambitious goal of, let me give you context. I joined Talent QL. So I used to work at Decagon, right? And I was a program associate at Decagon. And when I joined, everybody knows that, okay, for people who don't know, I currently work at Old School Africa. We're doing really amazing stuff with education. If you don't know about us, please browse about what we're doing. I'm so excited of talking about Old School because I built the infrastructure, like the learning infrastructure that everyone in old school is current, or people who have moved, who have gone through old school are currently learning on, right? Like the entire how old school should work, how our students should feel the experience. I designed that. This was like over 3 years ago. And before old school, we had Talent Cure. Talent Cure is a parent company of old school. And when I joined Talent Cure, on the first day that my first day at work, I met Adewale. Adewale is the CEO and founder of All School. He asked me, Rachel, what's your 5 years goal? Like good employers or even employers who just want to ask how they will ask. He asked me, what do you want to achieve in 5 years? And I told him, uh, in 5 years, I don't know if I'll be here. Very bold thing to tell your employer, right? Yeah. But I told him that in 5 years, I wanted to be a director, right, at a company that is driving impact at a very massive scale. And I told him that after 5 years, at the time I was obsessed with working at Apple. So I told him that after that 5 years, I think next thing for me should be going to work at Apple. And he was like, okay, that's great. The truth is, I want to help you achieve your goals. I want to help you achieve your dreams. Um, and he now told me what his goals are, right? And I think from that conversation, it felt like I was talking to a friend, right? This was a friend who was like, I get what you want to achieve. I'm going to help hold you accountable, but I need you to also hold me accountable. Yes, I'm paying you to help me achieve my goals, but I am also paying you to help you achieve your goals, right? So we talked at length about everything, and then let me tell you the truth. Within a very short period of time at All School, I became a director, right? And it wasn't a just take director role. It was that within a short period of time, Adewale put me on projects and different things that I moved from being an associate way back. This was maybe like over 4 years ago. I moved from being an associate to being a program manager. I joined the company as a program manager. So when we were having this conversation, I was already on manager level. I was supporting other people with their own, like other associates and all that. And over time, I moved from manager, became a senior program manager, became head of programs, and then got to director level within a very short period of time. He and I had a conversation, I think maybe like 2-ish years later. I was coming back, almost 3 years. Oh, we went to, I can't remember where we went to. And then we're on our way coming back, and then we're talking, and then he was like, do you know that you've achieved your 5 year goal within 2 years? And I was like, yes, I have. And he was like, what do you think happened? And I was like, honestly, I feel what happened was that we had set systems in place to one, make Old School a company, a global company that was driving impact. But then secondly, we had also set systems in place to help me become the person who can be a director for a global company, right? Now, the thing is, me wanting to become a director and drive impact was all rooted in my need to do something at a global level that wasn't limited by bureaucracy. Now, I have been in companies where bureaucracy like cripples a lot of things, and I was like, I wanted to be a director where I have some form of authority to make decisions that impacts people's lives the best way possible. That was my purpose around that goal. But then the time I told him in 5 years I wanted to become a director at a global, that was a clearly defined goal. Now, because I had this clearly defined goal, when he told me maybe like 6 months later that, oh, he wanted to start old school, I didn't even see how me becoming a director of all, that was not even in view. But then it ignited this passion in me that connected to the fact that I wanted to drive global impact. It doesn't even have to be at director level, but because old school was now old school Africa, we're going to open our doors to people from different parts of the world. And we did that, and I delivered excellently. So do you see how your goals have to be, while a lot of people will tell you set smart goals, for sure, please set smart goals. Smart goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. Now, all of the things I've shared right now, they were bound by 5 years. It's just that because there were systems in place. Now, systems in our own case was that we wanted to build old school. But before old school, we had to like build some form of credibility in the market. And then we did that by the pipeline program, which I led at the time. And by doing all of this, we're also able to learn mistakes to avoid in a very small and isolated space before we took it to old school. So think of it as craft goals that align with your dreams and aspirations. I think that's the long and short of it, right? If you have a 10-year goal and then your today's 2025 goal doesn't connect to your 10-year goal, I'm sorry, please go back and look at those goals again. Because even if you put systems in place, you will achieve those goals. But then where are you heading to? Like, honestly, where are you heading to? If you are tying your goals around what your business wants and not or what your company wants, remember, your company is a company that is paying you. But again, I want you to think of yourself as a business. Businesses have mission statement. Businesses have values, core values. Businesses have a vision. Their vision is their 10-year goal. Their mission statement is how they hope to achieve it, right? And then their core values are what they want to show up as while they achieve this. So the question is, when you are setting your own goals, now you have a vision. Awesome. But then how do you want to show up for it? We will talk about systems next. But then there's also the values, right? How do you define what your values are? Your values could be, oh, I want to be this person, but are you living as that person? Are you working today as that person? Do people look at you and then they see this exude out of you? How you would know what your values are is talk to maybe like the 5 people. Please, I would hope that you will write this down, but talk to the 5 people that you talk to the most. Or you can even think about it. You don't even have to ask them, but okay, no, let's do it this way. 2 things, your first task for the day, right? Um, the 3 people, let's even make it less. 3 people, the 3 people you talk to the most. Write down 3 things that you feel you talk to them about often, right? For example, in my case, I talk to Joanna the most. I would say, oh, the top 3 things Joanna and I talk about is we talk about quality of life, we talk about our relationship with God, and then we also talk about like some of our goals and aspirations and how we want to get there, right? And people that we both know that we think can connect us to these things. I have my friend Karen. Karen and I talk about all of the trips and adventures that we want to go on. We talk about some of our 10-year goals and how we have to start building things for them right now, right? And then we also talk about having fun. Karen is my fun friend, right? We both are really amazing at doing things, but she's my fun friend. Then I have who can I use as an example? I have Peculiar. Peculiar is someone who I pray with a lot. Peculiar is someone who we talk about how we want to change the education space together and what our aspirations for what education should look like. We also talk about how women, we want to drive impact in the space of women, the events we host and the things we do connects to this, right? Now, these are people that I can tell you that these are the things we talk about. Now, I can tell you how these people see me, right? But then make your own list, 3 people and 3 top things you talk to them about. Then the next list is send them a message and ask them what are the top 3 things that when they think of you and all of the conversations you have with them, what are the top 3 things that comes to mind for them? What you want to do is match those things together. What this person thinks of me and how I show up, and what I think they think of me and how I show up. If there's a difference, then the question is, why do you see yourself that way and why do they see you that way? I'm not going to answer that question. I have an answer for it, but I'm not going to answer that question. I want you to ask yourself that. So the question is, all falls back to, you want to build systems and goals that are connected to right now and later. The people in your life right now should be connecting to your goals. Building systems. A system is simply making things work. The right and more, that was supposed to be efficient, but I wrote efficient. So sorry about that typo. The more and more efficient way. Think of it as inputs and outputs. Supply chain. Today, when you order food on Bolt Food or Global or whatever your favorite, or Chowdeck, popular one, their supply chain is that there is this action. When someone presses this button, then someone goes to get, like, prepare your food, someone packages your food, someone gives the delivery guy your food, and then delivery guy comes to your house and gives you the food, right? But then an action, an action, an action, an action. It's a process, right? Then you have education. Education is also, you tell yourself, I want to be a doctor, and then you study, you do primary school. In secondary school, you are a science student. Senior secondary school, you're a science student. In university, you apply for what's it called, medicine or anatomy or biochemistry. All of these are things that connect you to, maybe not directly connect you, but aside medicine. But all of these are things that can actually take you to that destination, right? So systems are the middle point between I want this, so I'm getting this. Now, for me, when I think about systems, I think of 4 things as the best ways to build a system, right? Keep it simple. Let me use an example. Keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple. 2 years ago, I said, oh, yesterday I was chatting or I was responding to one of the emails of one of the people who responded to the messages I sent. And she told me she speaks French fluently, right? And I think she has lived in Cameroon for about 5 years. And I told her I was jealous because 2 years or so ago, yeah, this was 2020. At the start of 2023, one of my goals was I wanted to learn French. And then, like, what's all of us do? I went on Duolingo, applied, sorry, I said applied, got on Duolingo. And this was, let me tell you for a fact, 2023. In 2022, I used to like have systems that worked, right? But 2023 was the first time I was consistent with a system for an entire year. And learning on Duolingo was that first thing for me. Within the year, I added other things. After I'd done maybe like uh 40, no, after I've done like 90 days, that's like 3 months, right? And there's this principle. that you build habits after 21 days, after consistently doing something for 21 days, right? Now, before 2023, the other habit I was very constant with was that the moment I wake up, I dress my bed, right? Now, this was something I learned from, oh yeah, the US Navy and how they program their brain to be more efficient. I wake up, lay my bed, and every morning I'm very consistent with that. Sometimes I'll wake up and I'll forget, or maybe I have people who visited and then that means I can't necessarily control how that goes. But then the first time for 365 days, I didn't miss anything was when I said I wanted to learn French. Started learning French. Oh, by the way, disclaimer, at the end, I was telling her how I still don't know so much about French because while I was consistent, while it was simple, it wasn't something I was adapting to because a lot of times you learn on the app, but when you don't have people you're speaking with, it becomes harder for you to stick, right? You can be consistent with something and it may still be a goal that you don't achieve. That is me putting it out there. So, which is why I work with these four systems, right? Now, what you should know is that first 365 days in 2023, and then part of 2024 that I actually trickled it into before I decided that, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. I think this was like March last year. I said, I'm not doing it again. I stopped. Because I realized that I wasn't really growing. I was doing it consistently, but I wasn't growing. But what that taught me was that I could actually be consistent with something. Now, early last year, I know that my relationship with God, I tried to be very intentional about it. But one thing I wasn't intentional about was uh I did this thing where I will pray on the go. I will read my Bible whenever I want to. But then because I was able to do that with French, I was like, okay, I want to replace French, or I wanted to add. Yes, what I did was add it at the start of last year. I started with the YouVersion app. I started growing and building every month, every day. Like every day I was on the YouVersion app, I was praying, and then I would do the YouVersion. I would also pick my Bible and all of that. I was doing that, right? And I've been able to maintain a streak, not because it was for French, I just wanted to learn French, right? But then with the U version app or with me studying the Bible every day, it was because I wanted to draw closer to God. I could see how my life was changing. I could see how my identity in Christ was changing. I could see how the way I think, the way I process things, the way I show up for people, the way I the way I even did my work changed. So remember, with French, it wasn't adaptable. I couldn't see the effect of it in my daily life. But with YouVersion or with Bible study, I could see the impact every day. So, but then the thing I did for a start was a lot of people will tell you, oh, they read the Bible for 4 hours. Love it for them. I'm not on that level yet. Or they will tell you that, oh, I can pray for 8 hours. Love it for them. Still not on that level. However, what I told myself was I wanted to spend 15 minutes only every day praying. That was the most, it's like, okay, 15 minutes. I felt it wasn't a lot because I would spend hours on my phone on Instagram. So I was like, 15 minutes was all I wanted. And then I was able to show up for that 15 minutes. Now, this year, I was like, I wanted to spend about 10% of my time every day. That's 2 hours, 40 minutes, right? With like in fellowship with God. Now, I can tell you for a fact that while I'm not seated to do Bible study for the entire 2 hours, 40 minutes, I have been able to, for the past 1 month that was spent in this year, I have seen that every day I have spent that 10% of my time. Why? Because I started with something simple for an entire year, 15 minutes. And by the time I wanted to increase it, I think towards the middle of the year, last year, I increased it to about an hour. And then this year, that is why I'm able to do 2 hours, 40 minutes. So start small, very simple. But then every day you have to show up. If you miss one day, because yes, there are times that I would break. For example, it's not necessarily I didn't read my Bible, but then I didn't get on the YouVersion app on that day. And then I'll break my streak, but then I returned the next day and then I continued. Now, it has to be process driven. It has to be that it's not something that you just wish it to happen. you can't wish systems into place. You can wish goals, but systems you can't wish. So with processes, you have to have a way of step by step. If I do this, if I do that, if I do this, if I do that, it will give me this. But then finally, it has to be adaptable. I've talked about adaptable for the longest time. I've been talking about systems, but it has to be adaptable such that at the end of the day, you switch how it should work. Take, for instance, you realize that you are spending too much time on your phone every week, right? Let's use that as an example. You're spending too much time on your phone every week. Start, there's this screen time on phones now that measures how much time you're spending. There's also apps that ask you to set time that you are on it, right? For me, I know Instagram for me is 15 minutes every day. And if for any reason I exceed that 15 minutes, I have to stop and go complete everything else. Then I can now reward myself with Instagram another 15 minutes, and that's it, right? Now, at the end of every week, I get a report on, oh, you spent X number of hours on your phone. And then every day, and I'll look at it, I'll be like, I still want to reduce it. Then the question is, what else am I spending too much time on? Like this year, one of the things I've said was, I spent too much time on WhatsApp. And the reason why I spent too much time on WhatsApp is because that red notification thing that you would see on your phone that, oh, WhatsApp has 24 messages, this one has 18 messages, this one has 2 messages, and all that. I hate seeing it. So is that I want to clear everything. So I was spending too much time because if I respond, people will respond, you respond, people will respond. And then it's like, you don't have time to do other things. So I told myself, even WhatsApp this year, I'm going to reduce how much time. So how do I reduce the number of time I spend on WhatsApp? Is by sometimes ignoring those messages till the time I'm able to respond. And then once that time hits, I have to leave and go do other productive things. So maybe in your case is that you want to start a business, or you have a full-time job and then you want to start a business this year. Or maybe you've started a business, or you are doing school on the side and it's overwhelming. My recommendation would be this: sit down and ask yourself, how much of your time are you able to allocate to work? How much of your time are you able to allocate to school? And how much of your time are you able to allocate to other things, such as life, right? Because please live life. Don't let life live you. Live life, because if you are not able to make time for all of the other things, family, having fun, spending time with friends, and all of that, it tends to suck the life out of you, and you want to avoid that, right? So please find time for that. So do something like a time audit. I had to do that for myself a couple of, like, I do that as often as I can. Actually, I do that every Sunday night. So I would do like a time audit, like, okay, this week I have XYZ projects that I'm going to do. I have this goal or this goal. Yes, we'll talk about goals and how you break them into systems. But I have this goal I hope to achieve. I have this for this month, but then in this week, I have 4 weeks. I break it down into the 4 weeks. Now, this is how you build systems, right? I have, let's say, for example, in my business, I hope to earn 1.2 million. Let's make it easy. 1.2 million in the year. That is 100K per month, right? Every month. So in January, let's say I was able to achieve 100K. And then in February, I'm trying to figure out how to achieve my next 100K or maybe even 200K. I break it down into, I have 4 weeks in the month, and then how much can I get every month, every week? Who do I need to work with within this week? Is there someone that I need to talk to? My sales, let's say you have sales agent. There are people who just hope that they will make sales, but you don't make sales by just saying, I want to make sales. You tell your sales agent that, okay, now for us to make this 100K this month, we need to bring in 25K every week, right? Yeah, 25K every week. And then, or maybe like, let's say it's 25 users. Maybe you want to get in 100 users every month. We need to bring in 25 users every week. And for us to bring in 25 users every week, it means that, let's say we're doing a 10 to 1,000 conversion rate. That means in order for us to get 10 people, you have to talk to 1,000 people. That means you need to be talking to about 2,500 people. Now, how many people do I have that can talk to 2,500 people? Maybe I have just 3 people. The question is, what can I do to get these 3 people's capacity to increase to 5? Because if I have 5 people, then each of them can do 500 and I can achieve 25 much faster. So it's about breaking every single thing bit by bit. So let's say in your own case is that you are trying to navigate managing your time. You have 5 days, or let's say 6 days in a week, and then maybe you are resting for 1 day on Sunday, probably. These 6 days in the week, is your business a side gig or is it the main thing and then your work is a side gig? If your business is a side gig, then let's say your work should be getting about 60% of your time. Yeah, let's say 60% of your time. And then your business should be getting about 30% of your time. And then fun should be taking 10%. That is what the world believes should be a good balance. In my own opinion, and how has worked for me, please take this with a pinch of salt. What I work on, I do it like work gets, let's say, 50% of my time. My business or whatever extra things I do gets 30% of my time. And then every other thing work related, every other fun stuff gets 20% of my time. Now, with this balance, I'm able to do more. But then the truth is, how do I do more? Remember how I talked about in the sales example, how can you increase the capacity of these 3 people for them to operate like 5 people? It could be that you hire 2 more people, or you end up automating a lot, right? You automate a lot in order for them to reduce that time. So are there tools you can pay for that can do these things much faster, such that whatever your sales team, what is the most tedious thing your sales team does, get them to put it into the automation tool, you cross it, and then all they are doing is closing, right? In your own case, as an individual who may not have a team, what you can do is potentially this. It's either you wake up earlier. Yes, the truth is you need more time. And that's 2 hours that you spend on Netflix. You may want to cut it down to 1 hour. Maybe you watch what I started to do one time that I realized that I was spending too much time working and I wasn't spending a lot of time. So this is, sorry, sometimes my brain gets scattered, so stick with me. Sometimes I have situations where I take 20% of my I love K-drama. I think I said that in my K-drama and Star Trek. Whenever I want to like de-stress at the end of the day, I want to watch at least 1 episode, right? So before I can watch maybe like 7 episodes a day. That's like 5, almost 6 hours a day that I'm dedicating to watching K-drama or watching all of this. So what I started doing was within the week, I would watch 1 episode. And then at the end of the week, I can now watch 5 to 7 episodes. And that's okay. Because I was able to be productive within the week. And then within that, my 20% of rest time, that is where I add the maybe 4 to 5 episodes of K-drama that I want to catch up on. Hope that makes sense. So the idea is you want to buy more time. By buying more time, you have to take time from somewhere else. So the question is, what are you doing right now that you know you could cut back on? For some people, is you are on the phone with friends for so long. Now, I'm not saying don't spend time with friends. All I'm saying is prioritize. Prioritize. And the truth is, if you have friends who really care about your growth, they would understand. There are friends of mine that have told that, hey, this time that we spend on phone, I can't. So I go on the phone, I tell them, this is how much time I have. And they're like, they know, and all of that. But what do I do? Or what do we do as a way of staying caught up in all of the other things that we're not able to stay caught up on? We send voice notes. Voice notes are things you can listen to on the go. So you can send me a 30-minute voice note ranting about what has been going on in your life so that I catch up maybe by doing something else. Maybe I am cleaning my room or I'm doing something. I listen to your voice notes. And then by the time I get into our 30 to 45 minutes call, we are moving to, okay, what are we doing to fix this? Not that it's on the call, you are spending hours to tell me. And then by the time I want to go is when we are now trying to figure out how to fix things. So you need to be very strategic around how you adapt. I'm sure in all of the things I've been saying, you have seen a pattern of some things don't work. I find a way to change how it should work. So think of all of the things in your life right now and find a way to change how it works. If you can, the last option, which is what I have been able to do for myself, is even after buying back some time, I still have a lot to do because I still have a lot of amazing goals that I want to achieve. And so that means I have to delegate a lot. So the question is, can you afford help? Can you hire a personal assistant? If you can't hire a personal assistant, hire a virtual assistant. What I did first in my own case was to hire a virtual assistant. This was someone who wasn't fully there. But then after I worked with a virtual assistant over time, I realized that, okay, when I hired a virtual assistant, I was able to buy back maybe like 30% of my time. I want to buy back 50% of my time. How do I buy back 50% of my time? I hired a personal assistant who I know is full-time and is able to show up for me every time I need them. And that 50% of my time that I've been able to buy back, I've been able to allocate it to other things. Systems work it produces results when you put in clearly defined, would I say, steps into them, such that you are clear on why you are taking back this time, because you want to do more. And in order for you to do more, you need time. And in order for you to get time, you have to stop some things. So the question is, what are the things that you can stop? Maybe you are a mom and you need to buy some time. Ask your spouse for help. Ask people around you for help. The truth is, unless you have people around you who are helping you, you would struggle. That's the truth. Now, these are mindsets I need you to reframe around to help you build better systems. You first. You can't pour out of an empty cup. The truth is, your self-care is important. Like, one thing that my friends will tell you about me is, yes, last year I got burnt out, but it wasn't because of lack of self-care. It was that there were other things in my life that were just sucking the living life out of me. Work, relationships, and all of that. Like, a lot of things, unrealistic expectations that I was setting on myself, on people, and all of that. All of those things contributed. But then the moment I came back to, okay, Rachel, let's come back. What's your problem? Like, let's come back to you, right? And I was able to self-care sometimes is not you going to stay in the spa. Self-care sometimes is you deciding that I need help. And help in some cases could be you getting someone who talks to you at the end of every week for 45 minutes to deconstruct everything that's gone on within this week. That could be a therapist, a coach, or a friend, or whatever. That could be self-care. Self-care for you could be, I'm taking an entire day to just hit pause. And within this entire day, I'm thinking about me. I'm setting plans for myself. I am looking at what worked well in last week and how can I improve it in order for it to happen better next week. Let's say you said you want to lose weight this year. And then within this year, you decide that, oh, I am going to take you want to lose weight or you want to gain weight. In my own case, I think 2022 was 2022 or 2023. 2022 was the year 2023 was the year I said I wanted to gain weight. And what did I do for me to gain weight? Because I was weighing less than a bag of rice, guys. So I needed to gain weight. What that meant was that I needed to start eating better. I needed to work out, or even if I'm not going to work out, I needed to take a walk, right? Now, in 2023, I worked out a lot. I was always in the gym. Then in 2022, I was like, I didn't like how going to the gym made me feel. So I was going to now go to, what's it called? I was going to take walks more often, and then I was going to do less muscle building exercises. But then the only way I was able to adjust all of this was because there was something I was measuring. So the question is, how are you measuring your progress? How are you measuring yourself against what you've been doing before? People next. You need to recruit a team for yourself. Guys, One thing that has really impacted my life is having people enabling relationships, right? Uh, hmm. Having enabling relationships is one of the best things that can happen to you. But first, I think I forgot something I was going to share around this, you first. There's something called dysfunctional beliefs, right? Dysfunctional beliefs are things that you tell yourself that holds you back. Because believe me, you could set some amazing goals, but if you don't change how you think about yourself, you could achieve these goals and still end up feeling bitter or feeling like there's this void that is empty. I have been in that place. The truth is, I have achieved so much, but some of the things that I have also failed at understanding sometimes is, okay, let me check the chat right now. Let's do a quick exercise. How many people, how many people, how many people, what is it called? How many people have fear of failure? You can just put your hand up, or you can put what's it called, just an emoji in the chat section. How many people have fear of failure? Indulge me, please. Okay, Nafisa raised her hand. Okay, Oluwakemi, Esther raised her hand. Chidima raised her hand. Nehemiah raised his hand. Everybody, the truth is, everybody has fear of failure, right? Now, how many people have fear of success? I don't, and I think that's your biggest fear. That's a good one. It's almost like you have this ridiculous self-confidence, right? Almost like a delusional level. Love it. Now, I feel like you are operating at Kanye West level, because Kanye West has this very delusional sense of confidence that he can do everything. He feels like after God, he's the next. So Stella is the only person who raised her hand about fear of failure, right? I also have fear of failure. The truth is, mine is not even, sorry, not fear of failure, fear of success, right? I have fear of success because sometimes it scares me how much I can do, right? And it's not because I don't fear that I will fail. I experience imposter syndrome a lot. But is that sometimes you have this sense of, I want to do so much and I know I will do it. But then there are some fears that comes around the corner, like, okay, if you do this, then what's next? Or if you do this, are you going to change from who you are today? If you do this, then how do you change the narrative about things? Like, fear of success is real. It's one of the things that have held me back. And the truth is, one of the best things I've done is invest in a coach, right? I'll talk about a coach brief just in a few minutes.